I now call to order the 88th Annual Department Convention. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. One. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two. Thank you. Please see you.
That's what I was trying to get you to do yesterday.
Okay, if you were here yesterday, you heard our National Adjutant, Marc Burgess's bio, so it is in the convention book. But at this time, I'm going to ask National Adjutant Burgess to come up and say a few words, and if we have time, there's going to be some question and answering afterwards. When you do that, you need to go to the microphone, make sure the microphone's on, tell what chapter you're from and your name, and make sure we can hear you, please. All right, at this time, Marc Burgess.
Now, my comments will be brief, so we'll do more Q&A than my comments. There are a couple things I do want to say. But for those of you who follow me on Facebook, you know that I'm a little crazy about pictures and putting them on Facebook and sharing them with other DAV members, and it's a good thing. And those are communication tools, so you're going to have to bear with me. It's going to fix the machine. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to say anything. Worth recording anyway. Well, while we're waiting, this is what I was about to do anyway, is bear with me. Everybody stand up, please. If you can, stand. Now you're waving to all your comrades across the country and the other departments, because I'm going to put this out on Facebook. So from the DAV Wisconsin Convention, give everybody a big wave. Hattiesburg. Oh. All right. So thanks for that was a little corny. I've been called a little corny.
Well, normally, not normally, just important like long. Those things need to be recorded. Yeah, I got it. Actually, I put it on my suitcase. I was just going to the country. No, that might get it's in that little box, right? No.
All right.
What is it?
So the couple things I'm going to talk about and then open up for Q&A. One is, it's a little repetitive, but it's important enough to be repetitive. Al's presentation yesterday about the Veterans Health Administration, and as I had made a comment prior to Al's presentation, it is a real threat, a present danger, that veterans health care as we know it is going to be gone. There are plans. The Commission on Care made a recommendation to do away with veterans health care and to wrap it all into the private sector. And that's bad for a lot of reasons, and Al laid it out very clearly yesterday. Fragmented care, it's going to cost more for everybody, including the veteran. So, but of course there are also other consequences to changes like that, specifically to an organization like ours. Just imagine if there aren't any VA medical centers out there. Imagine there are no clinics, no vet centers, none of that. And that's what they're talking about, phasing everything out. What's that going to do to our volunteer programs? All the volunteers that spend some time in the hospital, taking good care of the veterans that are in there treating, bringing up their morale, throwing Christmas celebrations, and all the things that you and the members you represent do. All those things. volunteer drivers. That program wouldn't exist anymore. A lot of that program falls under the Veterans Health Administration, including the protections for the drivers if there's an accident or something. So all of that would be gone. I mean, what would that do to our organization? Now, that's not necessarily the number one reason to fight this, but it sure is a good reason to. So I implore you to please take action and talk about it. A lot of the public is listening to the media, they're listening to the buzzwords. Shouldn't veterans have a choice? Well, that sounds great, but what that means in this context is we'll give them a choice and make them go to the private sector and do away with the veterans health care. So please do what you can do to help stop that. And the danger is right now, because that report, additional care, was presented it's been released. So now is the time. Make a call, write a letter, talk to other people about it. If you need to get up to speed on the issues, because some things are pretty complicated. Commander's Action Network, if you're not enrolled in that, you got to do it. It's easy. Go to the DAV webpage, legislative section, click a button. You will be enrolled in the DAV Commander's Action Network, and you'll get email alerts on important legislative issues and things of this nature. So please, and Al will be happy to guide you any way he can to make a loud voice, and that's what we have to do. The other thing I want to mention real quick is National Convention is coming up, and like we do every year, we contract with a hotel, and that contract for Atlanta has been in existence for some time. Before I was adjutant, that contract was signed. And of course, we have a room block. We only have so many rooms at the reduced rate for the hotel, and that period to get that room rate ends June 26th. And we are pretty much full. In fact, we are full, absent just a handful of rooms. So if you're going to go to National Convention, you need to get your room reservations. Now, you'll still be able to get a room after June 26th, but you're going to pay a much higher rate. All the rooms will be the hotel rooms versus DAV's negotiated rate. So it's going to be a higher rate than what we negotiated. Now, but what I'm going to ask you to do is, prior to the 26th, decide if you want to go, but also decide if you're not going. In the past, we've had situations where a lot of our members would reserve rooms thinking I might go. So I'm going to reserve a room just in case, and I'll decide later. And if that happens, if you reserve a room now, and you don't decide until after June 26th that you're not coming, well, then you just take it from DAV's negotiated room rates and give it back to the hotel. We can't get it back. So June 26th, an important date. So please decide if you're going to go or if you're not going to go. And if you have a room reserved in your name, or the department has a block of rooms, the auxiliary has rooms, make sure prior to June 26th that you get the names assigned to those rooms, and any ones you're not using, release them. Because that'll allow other DAV members to get that negotiated room rate. Usually, every year we get to convention and there's 50 rooms that go wasted. About 50 people don't show up, and that's 50 people that have had to pay a higher rate than our negotiated rate. So please make the decision before June 26th. So with that, I'll open it up. Anybody has any questions? Good morning, Matt.
Matt Bills, Chapter 39, Fort Atkinson. I'm wondering if you could talk about the Amazon Smiles with the DAV Charitable Service Trust.
Yes, Amazon proactively created Amazon Smiles, and they went out and accessed IRS list of charitable organizations and put it in their program. So if you go on Amazon Smiles, you're going to see a tremendous amount of charities out there, including different charities, listing of DAV, thrift stores, which shouldn't be there. So if you buy something from Amazon, which hopefully some of you own stock in Amazon, because if you do, you're doing very well. But Amazon is the way so many people shop today. So if you shop on Amazon, what you can do is you can go in and you have to elect to participate in Amazon Smiles. And when you do that, that'll ask you to select a charity that you would like a portion of your purchase price to go to that charity. And you can select the DAV Charitable Service Trust. So obviously, if any of you are shopping on Amazon, shop a lot and select the DAV Charitable Service Trust as your charity. And if not only you, but if you tell your friends and neighbors, families, hey, you shop on Amazon Smile, select DAV Charitable Service Trust. Because that money adds up. That address it?
You know, Mark, I talked to Ed Hartman about it, and he said that last DAV fiscal year, the amount for the entire United States was only about 14 grand. I'm willing to bet that the Department of Wisconsin, if its members that shop on Amazon.com, could probably top that just in one state.
I'm not sure where you got the 14,000, but and I'm not going to say that's right or wrong because I don't know. But every penny counts. And you're right, a lot of people don't know about it. So, I mean, just the people in this room, how many shop on Amazon? Yeah, that's a fair amount. Very convenient. So, just spread the news. Select DAV Charitable Service Trust on Amazon Smiles. Sure. And to provide some information on the DAV Charitable Service Trust, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, DAV Charitable Service Trust is an entity that falls under the umbrella of DAV. It is a separate entity, separate organization. Dick Barnes is the president of the DAV Charitable Service Trust. And what does that entity do? Well, that's a 501c3. DAV is a parent organization of the 501c4. DAV Charitable Service Trust is a 501c3. They raise money on their own on federal campaigns. The primary way in which the Charitable Service Trust raises funds. Those funds that come in, governed by bylaws that say that all those funds need to be spent on direct service to veterans. Now, different entities, different charities, nonprofits that do positive things for veterans that DAV parent organization doesn't provide, it fills the gaps, and the range is significant. Lots of initiatives for homeless veterans, lots of therapeutic initiatives from equine therapy to swimming with the dolphins. There's some of the larger grants that have gone to the Intrepid Centers, which are these huge centers that treat severely injured veterans, and those with TBI and PTSD, and there's several of those around the country. So the DAV Charitable Service Trust was created so to raise funds and support initiatives that are good for ill and injured veterans that DAV parent organization doesn't provide. Because you can imagine, I mean, how is DAV going to manage all these small initiatives, and treating homeless veterans, supporting homeless veterans, that's a community thing. So that's how we go about trying to support those initiatives, is through the DAV Charitable Service Trust. So it's under the umbrella of DAV, but it is a separate organization, separate bylaws. Again, Dick is the president. And Dick, what do you think? You probably get well over 100 grant requests through the Charitable Service Trust every year.
Yeah.
Well over 100.
And as my report always reflects, for the National Convention, anywhere from 93 to 97% of what we get goes right back into those programs. Uncomparable.
Yeah, what Dick was saying, you didn't hear him, was that somewhere between 93 and 97% of the funds raised goes directly to veterans. Very little of it to the charitable service. And for those of you watching the news over the last few months, we haven't heard anything about it in a couple months, but starting in January, there was a lot of investigative reporting about other veterans charities in a negative light. What did they do? Within the first 15 seconds of the breaking evening news talking about these other organizations was to compare them to one of the most reputable and highly rated veterans organizations in the country, the DAV Charitable Service Trust, which has a 4-star rating from Charity Navigator, which is the highest rating. Any questions? Or?
Mark, could you, Big Mark, Chapter 3, could you just talk in a broad view about fundraising and what legitimately the chapters can use that money for, including Forget-Me-Not drive,
to serve our fellow veterans? I know there are a lot of misconceptions about that. And some are telling the others that, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. But I know it's a broad subject, but maybe you can give us a kind of narrow it down.
Sure. Fundraising by entities, virtually all of that money should be used on direct service to veterans. Chapters get your distributions that can be used to operate. But if you go out and raise money, every dime you raise should go to some direct service for veterans. What opportunities for fundraising do you have? Well, you have the Forget-Me-Not, and I know our chapters across the country raise a lot of money through their Forget-Me-Not. There are other opportunities for chapters to raise money. Some are creative and come from the minds of the chapter members. If it's something you develop as an idea you have on your own as a chapter, what do you have to do? You have to get department's approval. You have to. Any fundraising initiative that's not predetermined, like the Forget-Me-Not, which is in the Constitution and bylaws, or Golden Corral, or Drive for Your Community, and some other initiatives that are relationships with a national organization that comes down, you need to get approval. If there's a contract that has to be signed with an entity that helps you raise funds, that has to go to the department and then on to the National Executive Committee for approval. Anytime you sign a contract obligating DAV in a legal way to raise money, you have to get the National Executive Committee's approval. So from the other creative ideas, you just have to nail down what it is, how it's going to work, who's going to be involved, how long it's going to be, how much money you think you're going to raise, are you going to use any outside entities, and you have to run it through the department to get approval. And the department will know whether that needs to go on to National Executive Committee for approval. But the ways in which you can raise money which you don't need that type of approval for, again, is Forget-Me-Not, because that's in the Constitution and bylaws. Are any Golden Corrals in Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now that's a department fundraising program. That was created, a corporate relationship at National. We wanted to develop the relationship, but hand it off to departments So departments could raise money to support their service programs. From the very beginning, that was the initiative. Department fundraising program, raise money, support the department's service programs. Well, and that takes shape differently in every department around the country as to how that operates. Some departments go to their chapters and say, we have so many stores, we need help. Will the chapter 2 or 3 that's in a community with a Golden Corral, how about you folks man this Golden Corral for however long the store will let you be there and raise money, and in turn we're going to share it with you. Now that sharing agreement, whether chapters use it, it's different everywhere. And there's been some places where there's been some need for some clarity on certain things with Golden Corral. One is that it is a department fundraising program, and it's up to the department how they bring in the chapters and what the sharing agreement might be, if any. And again, that's different everywhere. Our view at National is in trying to, well, this is kind of like the federal government. How much do you want the federal government getting down into the state business? The federal government at the national level, it's a department fundraising program. The department decides, right? We don't want to dictate to the department, well, you can use the chapters, and the chapters get 10%, and the department gets 90%, because in some places that's not how they operate. So it's up to the department. How many chapters participate in the Golden Corral here? So that's a good number. You guys happy with that? Yeah. Happy with that? You're raising money? Good.
Mark, Mike Schenke, chapter 3.
I'll think the mic's on.
Well, it says it's on, but.
Come use the one on the front.
Huh?
This one works.
Yeah.
Gotta tickle you, Mark.
Mike Schenke, Chapter 3. What about businesses or organizations within your community that come to you, the chapter, and say, hey, we're doing a fundraising and we want to give the money to you, the chapter. Do you need any kind of permission from National?
Yeah, well, it depends. If it's Joe's Barbecue, and this is where Joe's Barbecue is in your community, no, you need to let the department know. If it's Applebee's or Lowe's, a national chain, then yeah, you need
Packers?
No, that's local.
Okay.
If it's local, see, this is why it's hard to answer those kind of questions, because it depends on, what you're talking about. It depends on the relationship.
Well, I got like gamblers too, that do a fundraiser for us every year. But
What is it?
The Gamblers, hockey team here in Green Bay, and
That's fine.
and
Depending on what it is.
Bart Star tailgate thing every year. Every home game they auction something off, and at the end of the year they give us the money from that.
I think that's fine without knowing all the details how it works. That sounds fine. That's a local entity. If they're using the DAV logo in a way,
They're using me.
all right.
Yeah, it speaks about where the money's going.
Well, I don't see a problem with that.
Steve Panic, Chapter 62, Rhinelander. Gambling license, which we need to run raffles and so on.
Right.
The state of Wisconsin has a nonprofit gambling license. Do we need permission from the
Yeah,
department
yes.
to get a gambling license?
Absolutely.
We have, we've had one for 3 or 4 years, but there was never.
Yeah, and some states require a little more oversight when it comes to raffles than others. But if
We
the
had to
state-
file a report to the state, every year on income,
Yeah.
what we did with it and so on, so.
Well, my philosophy is, you say yes unless you can find a reason to say no, not the other way around, right? So, what does that do? That encourages folks with ideas out of the box. I don't know if we can do this or not. Well, let's ask. So that's my thing: transparency, information, communication. If there's an idea out there, send it up. Now, the answer may be no, right? But it may be yes. I can tell you that from my perspective, we try to find, the answer is yes unless we find a reason to say no. But sometimes that's the case. And when it comes to fundraising, we just have to all do it together. so that we aren't bumping heads, we aren't overpowering donors, we aren't over soliciting corporate and the like, so.
But we had a Harley Davidson dealership that wanted to make some money for veterans organizations. They came to us. And fortunately, we raised enough to buy a van. But we never did get permission from the department for any gambling license.
Now, I'm gonna have to, go over to the auxiliary, actually, I'm 5 minutes late. So, but I'll be back, and anybody, if I didn't answer anybody's questions, if you have a question, see me in the hall, see me up here anytime, I'm available. So, thank you.